if Todd was the college football CEO, which is not a real thing, but if he was, what changes would he make? Yep. Welcome back to the Men in Black podcast. I'm Josh Mancuso, the real expert in this scenario. This is Todd Blackledge, some college football analyst type stuff, I think. So, Todd, how's it going?
Doing great, man. Doing great. You enjoying your time at Disney?
I am. We did Disney yesterday. I'm at Universal today.
Okay.
Just hopping around Orlando, having a good time.
Good.
Yeah. You want to come down here for a couple of days with us?
No.
Okay. Can I come up there with you for a couple of days?
Yeah. You might need to go on vacation to relax here after this.
I will. Look, I got some. You got some coffee?
Yep, I got some. Let's do it.
Okay. I had to go to Starbucks today because the coffee in the room at Universal,
not good.
It's garbage. It's straight garbage. So, well, all right. We had a pretty big weekend of football here. We got a few games to go over.
Yeah, it was a great week. I mean, you had two games that ended on a Hail Mary. You had a couple of ridiculous comebacks, improbable comebacks like Stanford over Colorado after being down 29-0. So, I mean, it was a really, really exciting week in college football. So we're at that point of the year now where the games just get bigger and bigger.
What do you make of that Stanford comeback? How can you allow a team that's down 29-0 to come back on you? What happened there?
Well, I didn't watch the game or study the game, but obviously it was a completely different game in the second half. And Colorado, they've had a little bit of everything happen to them so far this season, right? They've had the ultimate highs. They've looked great. They've gotten blown out. They've had to hold on to win late, and now this is a new experience. And again, they're not a great team. They're a talented team. They got Travis Hunter back, and he made some good plays. But you got to give credit to Stanford. First of all, that they didn't quit. That they came out and played the second half and just treated it like a brand new game. And then momentum is funny in football. Momentum, it just gets rolling, and pretty soon everything starts going your way and things go against the other team. And Stanford, I don't even know how to say this guy's name, but this receiver, redshirt freshman receiver from Stanford, Elik Ayumano or something. I'm probably butchering the name. I've never even heard of him, but he has 13 catches for 294 yards and 3 touchdowns. And the last touchdown, the winning touchdown, he catches it like wrapped around Travis Hunter's head. So I mean, it was like an incredible performance by him. But you got to credit Stanford and just not giving up and hanging in there and then finding a way to win it at the end. But really, I'm sure the Colorado people, staff and players, you can't have much more of a disappointing loss than that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're right. Colorado they're on a Disney roller coaster themselves.
Right.
They've experienced every single piece of what it's like to play college football. And, they're just getting the full experience, soaking it all in because they're getting the heartbreaks and the amazing stuff. Yeah. Wow. All right. Well, that was a pretty incredible game. Now, obviously, I guess kind of the game of the week was USC going to Notre Dame and getting absolutely shellacked by the Fighting Irish, which I did not see coming. But you probably did because you're pretty smart.
I thought Notre Dame was going to win. In fact, I think I said that last week when we picked the games. But I did not.
You said it.
I did not think they would beat them like this. I mean, they actually, just destroyed them. And Caleb Williams, who was just flying along, 1 interception, like 25 touchdowns or whatever. Right on pace to win the Heisman again, to be the first since Archie Griffin to win back-to-back Heismans, and all of a sudden, everything got derailed in South Bend. I mean, he threw 3 interceptions in the first half. Notre Dame just harassed him all night. I mean, it made him look human and average, but it also made their offensive line look horrible. They sacked him 6 times. They just totally dominated the game with their defense. I mean, Notre Dame only gained 251 yards of offense and won 48-20. It was all by their defense. They forced the turnovers. The one kid had 2 interceptions in the first half. He forced a fumble. He had a scoop and score in the fourth quarter. So it was a dominant performance by a Notre Dame team that I just knew they had to bounce back, right? They had 3 weeks in a row that were gut-wrenching. They lose on the last play to Ohio State. They go on the road and they have to hang on to beat Duke late. Then they go on the road and lose to Louisville and didn't play very well. So, I mean, they needed to respond, and they did.
Notre Dame is having a full football season like Colorado is.
That's right.
They're experiencing all of it. What a schedule, really. I mean, they're playing a lot of good teams, and it's been cool to see. And USC, man, I a lot of people are doing the whole "I told you so." They don't have a defense, and they're gonna get killed. But like you said, I mean, Notre Dame only had 248 yards of offense, which I don't know what to make of USC's defense going forward. But at this point, I mean, is it safe to say Caleb Williams has lost the Heisman, or is it still achievable?
I hate to say that because there's a lot of big games left, but he might have, and the biggest reason he might have, and this is a great segue to our next game, is because Michael Penix Jr. in the Washington game, which was an incredible football game, Washington and Oregon. Anybody that watched that or paid a ticket to go see it got their money's worth. 2 teams, really good teams, dueling it out. 2 great quarterbacks, who are both older guys who have, took advantage of the portal, took advantage of the extra COVID year, took advantage of medical redshirts, everything, right? And are playing great. And it was a shootout between Bo Nix and Michael Penix Jr. And so I think the reason Caleb might have lost it last week is because 2 guys in his conference are still playing lights out. And Michael Penix Jr., in my opinion, probably moved into the forefront right now. But there's still a lot of big games left,
Sure.
But that game in Seattle was incredible. Went down to the wire. Oregon was winning late in the game, and Dan Lanning, who, people having different opinions, he went for 3 times on 4th down and failed all 3 times, right? Once in the first half, 2 in the second half. The last one, he was just trying to, it was in his own territory. And if he gets the first down there, they kind of ice the game. The game's over. And he gambled and went for it on 4th and 3, and they didn't get it. And Washington, it only took them 2 plays to score to go ahead. The only bad thing about that is it gave Oregon time to at least move into field goal range, and they missed a 43-yard field goal that would have tied the game and put it in overtime. So an incredible football game. You can say what you want about Dan Lanning's decisions and not taking points or not punting the football. It was an aggressive mindset, and I'm sure his team is behind him, say, hey, our coach believes in us and he's aggressive and we want to be aggressive, and it just didn't work out, in this case.
It's the Oregon way, though, isn't it? I mean, isn't that how they, if you're going to coach at Oregon, you got to be that kind of aggressive coach, it seems like. I mean, if you're
going to wear eggshell uniforms, then you better have something going for you, some kind of moxie. Right.
Those uniforms were pretty crazy. I loved them.
Yeah, I just like I like uniforms to actually reflect the colors of the school. I just think there's something important about that. When you wear uniforms that you turn them on, you're looking like don't even know who it is. I'm not down with that. But so.
Well, that's the thing. If you turn on the TV and you look at a team and you don't know who it is, it's probably Oregon.
It's a good chance it's Oregon. Yeah,
I'm with you though. I like the Penn State uniforms, right? We talked about that before.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, somebody on this podcast may have said that Washington was, I think quote, overrated, and that they were not going to win against Oregon, that they were not as good as people thought they were. That person might have been me, and I might need to apologize to the Washington Huskies here on national television, as our podcast is on. And they are legit. they live. Of course, that game again, it could have gone either way, but Washington won the game, and they're really good. So you told me, like you said, Washington's good. Stop making stupid predictions, but here I go. You know.
But you made a good one on the next game.
I did, which was Arizona going into Washington State and not just upsetting them, like completely destroying them 44-6. What happened? And I knew it all along, Todd Blackledge. I knew it all along. Arizona Wildcats can play football, apparently.
I think you just like Arizona, especially because I told you their coach's name is Jed Fish last week, and you just really were into that. But, you know,
that's what it is.
He has done a great job because they were close the last couple of weeks and just came up on the short end, but been very competitive. And it's like they just all put it together. So, I got a couple of good friends that are U of A grads, and I'm sure they're excited about the direction that the football team is headed right now under Jed Fish. But that was a huge win, beating Washington State.
Yeah, on the road. I'm glad Arizona's winning something. I picked them to win. Win the Final Four last year in my bracket. They let me down pretty early, if I remember. They went out pretty early, so at least they gave me this win against Washington State. So
there you go. There you go.
Pretty good. Good. All right. Well, games to recap, or you want to move on to some?
No, I think that's good. Let's move on.
Okay. So we've got a new segment, I think, that we're starting called Tip of the Cap.
Yeah.
Hats off. Tip of the cap to a player and a team that we think we just want to give a nod to.
Yeah.
Tip of the cap for their performance.
Is awesome, isn't he? Look at
That's
him.
Great.
He just throws something out there, and he is on it.
Our producer just knocking it out of the park. All right, so hats off. Who's your who are you going to give your hats off to today?
Okay, so my team is the Air Force Academy. Troy Calhoun's the coach. He's been there about 17 years, and they've been good. I mean, the last 2 years they finished 10-3, but that was basically based on late season win streaks. This year they're 6-0. They just beat Wyoming, which was a huge win in the Mountain West, and they are now ranked number 22 in the AP poll, which is the first time that they've been in the top 25 since 2019. So kind of cool to see them, be in the top 25. And, the Army and Navy kind of get a little bit more publicity, I think, as the service academies, but Air Force is really good in football too, and kind of cool to see. Plus, it's beautiful out there in Colorado as well.
Oh, yeah. Yes, it is. Good pick right there. I'm going to go with I'm going to give my tip of the cap to Arizona for that big win against Washington State. Okay. And, they got no chance of being in the top 25 anytime soon, but maybe later down the road if they keep winning games. But tip of the cap for that win, but also how they've kept it close with some other teams. I think they kept it close with USC. Yeah. Maybe Oregon State or Oregon State, another team as well. They've been right there in the fight, which I think is pretty cool for a team like Arizona. You don't hear much about. Yeah. So tip of the cap to them for going to Washington State and taking them out big time and showing people, hey, we can play football too.
Yep. All right. How about your player? You go first on the player. Who's your player?
My tip of the cap for the player is may surprise you, but it is quarterback Graham Mertz from Florida. Who threw for 423 yards and 3 touchdowns against South Carolina in Columbia in a close game that I picked Florida to win because, again, I know football really well. Excellent. Yeah, thank you. So Graham Mertz, quarterback, and I think he is an underrated quarterback. And people like me who discounted them, like, who's this Graham Mertz guy coming out here for Florida going to play football? But if you look at him, and you look at even his stats stack up against some other pretty big, quarterbacks, even Jordan Travis. I was looking at a comparison between the two of them. And statistically, Graham Mertz is far ahead of a Heisman contender in Jordan Travis. Now, their schedule has not been the same necessarily, but still, Graham Mertz just playing good football. Love to see it. I don't love seeing the Florida Gators succeed that well, to be honest with you, but excited for him. It's a pretty cool deal. Graham Mertz, tip of the cap. Way to go, son.
Yeah, it's good. It's good for him. He started off his career at Wisconsin, and he His first game, he threw like 5 touchdowns. Everybody thought he was going to be, the best quarterback Wisconsin's ever had. And he just never quite measured up, and it wasn't just him, but he just never had the kind of career there that people thought he was going to have. And, like so many other guys, got in the transfer portal, found a new home, went and played for Billy Napier at Florida, and things have worked out really well. They've been a little bit off the radar, and he's been a little bit off the radar, but you're right. He's playing really well, and, he'll have a great opportunity in a big stage, probably in a couple of weeks when they play Georgia in Jacksonville, because that'll be a big game. So my tip of the cap is to a guy named, I'm going to say his name, and I know that you will have no idea who he is.
Right. No.
Tory Taylor. Do you know who Tory Taylor is?
Tory Taylor. I went to school with somebody named Tory Taylor, but it's probably not the same person.
That's not him. He's the punter for Iowa. Okay.
Wow. You're going to tip your cap to the Iowa's punter.
Yeah. Because you got to list this guy, he's like an All-American. And we've talked on this show, there is no worse offense in college football over the last 3 or 4 years than Iowa, right?
Yeah. No.
But their defense is great, and their special teams are great, and their punter is next level good, okay? So Tory Taylor, Saturday against Wisconsin, Iowa won 15-6. They punted 10 times. Normally, if you punt 10 times in a game, you're losing, right? They punted 10 times. He averaged 50.6 yards per punt. And 6 of his 10 punts were inside the 20-yard line. So he constantly was flipping the field, giving good field position to his defense. I mean, he is a stud, right? And we did a game in Iowa a couple weeks ago. This is no joke. They have fans with T-shirts, and it says, "Punting is winning" in Iowa.
Wow.
So my tip of the cap is to Tory Taylor, the punter at Iowa.
Wow. Punters, the unsung hero of college football games.
Well, on a team like that, I mean, their quarterback, this is the stats of a winning quarterback in that game, Deacon Hill, 6 of 14 for 37 yards. Okay? That was the winning quarterback. Okay? This is a team, they're ranked number 24. They're probably going to win 10 games.
Yeah.
It's on the strength of their defense and their punter. So, hats off.
I love it. I love this. It's like different personalities in your family. You got different teams. You got the high offense team. You got the weird Iowa team with somehow they win without having offense. You got the teams with no defense. And Iowa's just kind of like that kind of weird uncle that keeps showing up at the reunions, and I guess we'll keep inviting him because he keeps showing up.
I read it was kind of an interesting article on Sunday Flying Home, and it was doing the comparison. Says it's kind of ironic that at the same time this incredibly exciting Washington and Oregon game was going on, this 15-6 Iowa and Wisconsin game was going on at the same time, and those teams will be in the same conference starting next year. And so again, working for NBC and covering the Big Ten, I think it's going to be great to have these offensive, innovative, creative offensive programs coming into the Big Ten. Even though the quarterbacks are going to be gone, they'll still recruit great quarterbacks, and the coaches will still be there, and so it's going to be really fun to see.
Random question before we get on to the top 25 and to our upcoming games is: there was a quarterback for Wisconsin back in around the 2010s, 11, 12, somewhere in there, I think, named Kurt Phillips. Do you remember him? He was quarterback at Wisconsin.
I remember the name. Yeah, I remember the name.
He didn't get a lot of snaps, or he battled some injuries. But anyways, he's from our neck of the woods here in Northeast Tennessee. So just kind of a random guy who's dominated in high school and got recruited and battled some injuries and was a backup, but did start some and did decently well. But anyways, that's your random fact for the day, Kurt Phillips.
I like it.
Yeah. All right, so I put out a top 25 list that everybody is excited to see. Like the whole world just awaits this with anticipation. And so as you see here, I've got mine, and I've sent it to you before, so you've seen it. But I've got some newcomers in there. I've snuck in James Madison University at 24. feel like I mean they're undefeated. They beat some good teams, and let's throw them in there. I've also got Florida sneaking in there at 25. They're, in my opinion, one of the better 2-loss teams out there, having beat Tennessee. And so, anyways, anything stick out to you about my top 25 here?
Well, I think you were accurate in USC falling as far as they did because of the performance that they put on. I think I told you this last week. For me, and I'm a Penn State guy, but I think that's too high for Penn State. Now, if they beat Ohio State this weekend, then that's where they should be. But I think that they're too high. I think Florida State's too low because I think Florida State has, they have 2 really good wins on their resume already, over teams, Clemson and LSU. But, for the most part, I think it looks pretty good. Now, the other team that I would probably have in there in place of James Madison is Liberty. And the reason I say that is because the conference that Liberty plays in, Conference USA, is a little bit bigger conference than the Sun Belt. And James Madison, they're still ineligible for postseason because they have to play 3 years in the FBS. So they're undefeated, best team in the Sun Belt, but they can't even play in a conference championship game this year because this is only their second year in FBS. But Liberty's undefeated and is a good football team. Jamie Chadwell was the head coach at Coastal Carolina, and he took over for Hugh Freeze. When Hugh Freeze went to Auburn, he took over at Liberty, and they're having a great year. So that I would have them in there over James Madison. But and there's some, there's a couple of matchups coming up, like you meant, Alabama, Tennessee, Duke, and Florida State. So some really good matchups between top 25 teams this week.
Okay, yeah, it definitely feels like you can mix and match these teams, and this is the first year I've ever done a top 25, and it's tough. I mean, to figure out, well, should Missouri be ahead of Louisville or not? I mean, it's like it's a tough, kind of a wild card. It feels like a lot of times it's all just kind of thrown in there. But as the season goes on, I think it gets a lot more clear. Okay, good. Thanks for the review there.
Sure.
Okay, we're going to move on here to Penn State at Ohio State, which is a huge game going forward, which you said if they win, if Penn State beats Ohio State, they should be up there. I mean, in the top 3, 100%. I've already got them at 3rd, but I mean, I think Penn State goes to Ohio State and beats them. I really do. I think I'm just high on Penn State. I think they've got it going on.
Well, I think that they are built to beat them this year. I don't know that they were the last couple of years, even though they've played them tight. But, I do think that their defense is high level. Both these teams are playing really high level defense. And I don't expect this to be a high scoring game. I mean, it's been in the past, because Ohio State with, CJ Stroud and the guys they've had playing quarterback. I mean, they've been high scoring affairs, I don't think this one will be. And regardless of whatever the weather's like in Columbus, I just think you've got 2 outstanding defenses on the field at the same time. And so, I think it's going to be a heck of a football game. Very close and very low scoring.
Ohio State, I think 4-point favorites. I think the spread is 4 on there, so close. And I'm with you. It's going to be a defensive battle. I love that Penn State defense. I think they prevail in the end. We will see, but that's going to be a great game.
The one thing that concerns me about Ohio State is, and again, this game, a game like this, game like Ohio State Notre Dame that I did. Those games are won or lost at the line of scrimmage, and who controls the action at the line of scrimmage. And last week, not this past game, but the game before when Ohio State played Maryland, Kyle McCord threw for 300 yards and Marvin Harrison Jr. was a stud, but they couldn't run the football. They only had 62 yards rushing against Maryland. They were not very good up front, and they didn't have balance in their offense. And Penn State is a better defense than Maryland. They rush the passer better. They can cover better. And if Ohio State has trouble running against Penn State, they're going to have trouble scoring against them because Penn State's defense is for real.
Let's go. Give me the Nittany Lions. Can you pick this game, or are you calling this game? I can't remember.
No, I'm not calling it. No.
Are you going to pick it? Let's pick it.
No, I'm not going to pick it. No, I'm not going to pick it.
Not going to do it.
No. Move on. Move on.
All right, I'll pick it. I'm picking on your behalf. Penn State wins on the road. All right, Tennessee at Alabama, another big game, and of course Tennessee with the big upset over Alabama last year in Knoxville with that Hendon Hooker offense and just a 52-49 shootout, an insane moment for the Tennessee fan base. 15 years. Now they're going to Alabama in Tuscaloosa. This is not the same Alabama team as even last year and in the past. They nearly lost it to Arkansas there at one point this past week. So Tennessee, not the same team either.
Yeah,
struggling offensively, got a great defense. Tennessee at Alabama, going to be quite a fight. What are your thoughts on this game? You want to pick this one?
Yeah, I'm going to take Alabama. And you're right. Neither team is what they were last year when they played. And it was, that was one of the classic games of the whole season last year, right? But I think this one's going to be like Ohio State, Penn State. I think it's going to be the defenses are going to kind of, it's going to be a hard-fought game. I don't think it's going to be a super high-scoring game. And I think that being said, I think Alabama's defense is a little bit better than Tennessee's defense at this point. Again, Alabama's they're strange this year, but they just are finding ways to win. Their quarterback gets sacked like 4 times a game, and then he still throws like for 290. He hits big throws, but he gets sacked. He makes bad decisions. They have penalties. They got all kind of stuff going on that typically don't happen with Alabama, but they are playing high-level defense, and they are really making it difficult, for teams to score. So. But I think it's fun. That's a fun rivalry game. I'm glad, to me, rivalries are only good if both teams win their share, and Tennessee won last year was good. I mean, there was a long stretch there where Alabama just dominated, and there was a stretch when Peyton was at Tennessee and Phil Fulmer where Tennessee dominated the series, but it's good when it's back and forth and they can spread the cigars around between both teams,
That's right. The cigar companies are happy because they're selling more cigars to both teams in both states. Yeah, going to be a good game. I'm going to pick it as my upset of the week, not just because I'm a Tennessee fan, but it is hard to pick against Tennessee as somebody who's a fan and not quite an unbiased expert like yourself. And I feel like I'm unbiased in my other games, but this one. I don't know, I'm just going to go with the Vols, thinking that maybe they can go in there and get it done. The defense is playing great. I think if they can get to the quarterback like they've been doing, cause him to make some mistakes, get some interceptions, I think Tennessee can win the game. But the fear is that the issue would be that Alabama's defense does the same thing to Joe Milton and to their – and Joe, he's not having the year he probably was hoping he'd have, or the Tennessee fans was hoping he'd have. That poor guy, every time he gets a great throw on the money, his receiver drops it. And it's blowing my mind. So if they can avoid that crap and put something together, they may have a chance at pulling the upset. But
they definitely have a shot. They definitely have a shot.
They do.
It'll be a fun game. It'll be a fun game.
It will be. All right. My upset is Tennessee over Bama. Good pick there. So Duke at Florida State. Florida State's 14-point favorites here. But I'm not counting out Duke. But it seems like a home game for Florida State. They've been tested with some tough teams, like you said. It's hard to go against Seminoles. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, it's hard to go against them, and you don't know. I'm not sure what the status of Riley Leonard, the quarterback of Duke, is. Got hurt at the end of the Notre Dame game, and if he's 100% or not, they're a different team with him because he's a good player. When you just said Florida State's a 14-point favorite. I think Florida State will win, but I would, I'm not a betting man, but I would like the points in Duke because Mike Elko's team defensively is really, really good. And defense, you play great defense. It doesn't matter if you're home or away or whatever. And they play really good defense. And so I think Florida State will win, but I think it'll be a hard-fought game for the Seminoles.
Yeah, okay, I agree. Maybe closer than 14 points. Duke is it's cool to see Duke playing football. Yeah. I enjoy it. I love seeing this team be so good, and I hope they keep going. But I think they get tripped up here.
Do you know who the head coach was the last time Duke was this good?
I do.
He's from your hometown.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey,
I forgot.
Go out and toss it around. Just go out there and throw it around. Hey. Just go do that. Steve Spurrier, when he was coaching at Duke. Right. Yeah, from Johnson City, Tennessee.
Spurrier. Yeah, man, the most hated man in Tennessee. But yes, from my hometown, went to high school where I did one of the only three sport all-state athletes in 3 sports. Was amazing athlete, incredible. Yeah, I got to just throw it around. Yeah, Spurrier. I forgot he coached at Duke. Yeah, Duke being a smart school and all. But okay. Our next game is let's see. We got Utah at USC. We're gonna see if USC bounce back here. It's a home game. Can they bounce back? They're 6.5-point favorites, despite this, murder they took last week. But Utah coming in. You're high on Utah.
I like Utah
back.
I don't know. I don't know if he's back or not. And they've had trouble scoring points. So so I don't know. I think USC will bounce back. Same way we saw Notre Dame bounce back and look impressive. Now, I don't know that UCLA or USC will do the same thing defensively, but I do think they'll be better. And I think Caleb Williams will play better. And I think they'll probably find a way to score enough to win that game. But right now, they've got some questions to answer. They've got to look down inside of themselves, their offensive line, their defensive line. They got some soul searching to do before the Utes come in town, because Utah is physical. They play hard. They like to run the football, and they kind of take on the personality of their coach, Kyle Whittingham. They're a hard out for anybody in the Pac-12.
They are. I give the edge to USC, maybe because it's a home game, but also I think USC is just going to be ticked off. I mean, they were embarrassed.
Well, they should be.
Which Notre Dame's a solid team. I mean, but they were embarrassed, and the whole world's like, see, USC, you guys, you don't have it. I mean, I think they're going to be ready to come out and prove that they are worthy of being up there, but maybe a close game.
And see, the thing is, as ugly as that was in South Bend, that was not a conference game. So everything USC wants in terms of having a shot at the Pac-12 championship, maybe getting in the playoff, all of that is still out there, but they can't look or play like they did last week, because they still got to play Utah, they got to play Washington, they got to play. These are really good teams they still have left to play, starting with Utah. So they got to get better in a hurry.
So USC could finish 11-1, or they could finish 7-4.
Right.
You never know. I mean, that's true for any team, but with the schedule like that coming up, it's going to be start off 6-0, 5-0, whatever they were, and then they could end up being having a tough ending to the season. So, okay. Any other games you want to cover for the following week, or you want to go on to our Ask Todd segment?
Yeah, let's just move on. All
right.
I think they're in games.
It's time to Ask Todd.
It's time to Ask Todd. All right. It's a great segment.
I love it.
Okay. First question, Rocky Topics. If Todd was the college football CEO, which is not a real thing, but if he was, what changes would he make? How do we grow the sport and protect rival weeks? Does he see a day that conference championships go away? That's 3 questions, Rocky Topics.
That's a lot of questions. We'll
try to see if Todd can take them one at a time here. If you're the CEO, what
the first one,
do you make?
The first one is I would try to figure out some way to legislate the NIL stuff. We've had 2 major changes to the college football in the last 5 years, and I think both of them are good. But the fact that they are going on at the same time, the transfer portal and NIL, it's really a crazy situation right now. So
it's the Wild West out there.
They have done a pretty good job of legislating the transfer portal in terms of when the windows are open and when kids can get in and all of that. But the NIL, somehow they have to get some kind of oversight with that, so that everybody is kind of dealing with somewhat an even hand. But I don't know how they're going to do that. It's going to be very difficult, but that is what I would try to do. As far as growing the sport, protecting rival weeks, rivalries are great. It's one of the things that I think is important in college football. But as these conferences expand, and those decisions are being made because of the money that's available and the realignment stuff, it's going to be harder and harder to protect every rivalry. Like right now, I I think, the two conferences that are growing the most, the SEC and the Big Ten, are doing what they can to protect the primary rivalries, but it's going to be harder and harder to protect all of them, and so
yeah.
But so it's kind of hard to keep growing and expanding and realigning and also protect all the rivalries, but hopefully they can protect the best ones, and now, in the case of like the SEC, a rivalry game that went away, Texas and Texas A&M, now they'll both be in the same conference. They might be able to start that one up again. So that's
that one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. And then, do I see a day that conference championships go away? Yeah, I could see that. But the conferences don't like the idea of that because it's such a huge money-making game at the end of the year. So it's a great economic game for the conferences. But, if the playoff expands, which is going to next year with 12 teams, that's just one extra difficult game that teams have to play. And maybe they wouldn't even have to win a championship game to know that they're going to be in the playoffs. So, and if the playoff expands even beyond 12, I think more and more there'll be less of a need for conference championship games. So I do see a day that could happen.
That's for me. That's that would be disappointing. I love the conference championship games.
Yeah.
In fact, this is a bigger discussion for another day. But I love the old days when conferences were smaller. They were based on region, and winning your conference was your goal. And then bowl games are kind of a bonus, and then you had a national champion from there. But we'll just have to see. All right, for Todd, what was your favorite route to throw and why, as a quarterback? Or was there a team, college or pro, who you always loved to face because you knew you had their number?
Well, the first part, I always used to like to throw sometimes they call it America's route or America's play, but it's basically your flanker on the one side is running a deep post, and you got a square in on the other side, and you're putting that middle free safety in a bind. Whether he goes deep, whether he jumps on the end, you got a tight end with a drag route. So you're kind of putting that safety in conflict. You have the deep post, you have the deep square in on opposite sides. So I really like that. Whether you throw a drop back or off a play action. There was never.
You got options.
Yeah, you got options. So I didn't really have I loved playing in big games, not because I knew I had somebody's number, but I love to play in those meaningful games, like some of the games this week, the Alabama-Penn State game. When you go to a place like Penn State, you love playing in those games. That's what you go there for. So those are the games I liked.
Todd had everybody's number, so. Okay, Jennifer Tate says she misses Todd's Taste of the Town. Jennifer speaks on behalf of all of America in missing Todd's Taste of the Town.
Well, I miss it too. We had a lot of fun doing that, and that was a great segment. And it was funny because it just started as a small idea, and I worked so many years to try to carve a niche for myself as a football analyst. And after 3 weeks of doing Taste of the Town back in 2007, I immediately became a food guy. And everywhere I went from that point on, people were asking me about food. I'll tell you this one story before we finish that, kind of told me I was onto something. So we started this in 2007, and I did it the first week of the season at Clemson, second week at Penn State. I don't remember where we were third week, but about the sixth or seventh week of the season, we had an Alabama game, and Alabama was away at wherever the game was. And so we were getting ready to have our conference call with Nick Saban on the phone. And, if that call starts at 10:30, you're on the phone at 10:25 because he could jump on at any point, and, he's ready to go as soon as he gets on. He doesn't mess around at all. So we're sitting on the phone waiting for him to jump on. He comes on. Our producer says, "Hey, Coach, I got so-and-so here. We're, getting ready to cover your game. Thanks for your time." And he's like, "Yeah, no problem." He says, "Hey, before we get started, I just got to ask Todd something. Where are you going to eat this week?" No joke. And I was like, okay, so this must be legit. Taste of the Town. So Nick Saban wanted to know where I was going to eat.
I love it. That's what separates you from a lot of the other guys, though, man. Your segment there, people love it, and you're one of the best out there. So appreciate you. And what a great show. And I will answer one question from Rustin, who's my favorite ball bro. That was up there. Rustin, I will say that you are my second favorite Vol Bro. You are my second favorite. I'm giving the nod to Evan because he's producing this podcast. So we're going to go with Evan right now, Rustin. But things can change, all right? Things can change. Just like, Tennessee's defense. You never know when it's going to where we might go. So there you
How
go.
many
Man in
Vol
Black.
Bros How many Vol Bros are there?
There's just two.
Okay, so he came in second place then.
Came in second. Yeah, it's still good. Second's good.
Yeah, second's really good.
You can say I'm Josh's second favorite Vol Bro.
Last. You don't have to say came in last. He came in second.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, that's it for episode 4 of Man in Black podcast. We'll see you next week. Go Sports.